Hello and welcome. My name is Lindsay Campoy, and I'm the Membership and Professional Development Associate for the OT Association of California. We're about to begin Activity A, Friday Welcome, Looking Ahead with Wendy Hildenbrand. Before we begin, we'd like to go over some quick housekeeping reminders. All participants are muted upon entry into the session. Only the presenter and the room monitor will have speaking privileges. We'll be using the Q&A feature during the webinar to facilitate any questions you may have at the conclusion of the pre-recorded session. The Q&A feature is located at the bottom of your Zoom webinar screen. The presenter will be live to answer questions during the final 10 minutes or so of the presentation. This webinar is being recorded, including the Q&A at the end, and you can access the recording in Socio within the next week, and you'll have access to it for 60 days following the event. If you should have any questions either during the session or at the conclusion of Symposium, you can contact the Symposium office and OTAC staff using the email addresses shown below. Last, we'd like to take a brief moment to thank all of our sponsors for this event. Without further ado, we will now begin the welcome. Thank you so much for your attendance and enjoy.
Good evening, everyone. It's 5:30 or a little bit after 5:30 here in California where I'm at. On behalf of the State Occupational Therapy Associations of Arizona, Hawaii, Idaho, Nevada, New Mexico, Utah, and California, welcome to the 2021 Western Regional Occupational Therapy Spring Symposium. My name is Laura Wu, and I am the chair of this year's symposium. This is going to be an exciting weekend with 50 education sessions to choose from and opportunities to network virtually. And I'll be looking forward to when we can all get together again like we did last year in Las Vegas. Tonight is a special evening with our guests, but even more distinctive because it is her birthday today. So if you happen to have a beverage for this evening, it is my pleasure to introduce and wish a very happy birthday to the president of the American Occupational Therapy Association, Dr. Wendy Hildenbrand. Happy birthday.
Thank you very much, Laura. And mine's waiting for me. I thought I better put that on hold for just a minute until I had a chance to talk with you all. So it is a fun day. I've been looking forward to joining you all on your opening night for quite some time now. And the fact that it coincided with my birthday, that's just added fun. It wasn't lost on me. So I looked forward to this time with you, and I'm still excited to be here this evening. So hello, and what an honor to be with you and to welcome you to the 2021 Western Regional Occupational Therapy Spring Symposium, bringing together 7 state associations, which I love hearing that, love state associations. So bringing 7 states together in a collaborative effort, this is great. Offering you continuing education experiences and virtual networking opportunities over 3 days. That's no small feat. So when Laura and Karen asked me about speaking to you all, reached out with this invitation, my response was a very easy, enthusiastic, I'm there. So here I am, and I'm glad you're here too. Like many of you, I was excited to attend the first Western Regional Occupational Therapy Spring Symposium in Las Vegas last year. And I had the privilege of hearing the forecast for 2020 when Frank Cronenberg and Michael Uwama shared their keynote, Occupational Therapy in the Age of Disruption. I don't know that they were being forecasters, purposely at that time. They were certainly mapping out the way, but boy, little did we know, right? Their provocative keynote challenged our thinking and disrupted our thinking, if you will, and suggested that radical change has the potential to alter the course of our profession. last year, in fact, 1 year ago today, I was on a plane heading out to Vegas to this symposium, which was the final large in-person gathering, the big event that we'll all remember as the final event before everything shut down, before we had safe at home, as you all call it, I believe, out there in California, stay-at-home orders here in my hometown of Kansas City, associated with COVID-19 as a global pandemic. And also, this was the final large in-person gathering before we also began to see calls for social justice and systemic change across our country and across our globe over the months of this last year. This past year has demonstrated, above all else, the resiliency of occupational therapy professionals, and the people that we serve. Disruption necessitates forward motion and change. For us, change does not have to derail our profession or divide us. Rather, it provides an opportunity for us to be disrupted in a manner that pushes us to examine how we demonstrate and articulate our occupational therapy's core values and beliefs. So it can be an exciting thing, even though rough, even though a little scary at times, anxiety provoking, and certainly opens up a whole window of gray that we maybe don't really understand at a given point in time. I'm very excited to see that the chat, that fireside chat, continues with the focus on occupational therapy resilience in the age of disruption. I'm afraid we're not done. So there is an awful lot to talk about. So thank you to Frank and Michael for bringing that to you all, to all of us here that are going to be a part of the symposium over the next couple of days. The symposium theme, resilience, resonates on many levels, for me, for you, I hope, personally and professionally. So whether it's in our day-to-day clinical practices, whether it's in our academic environments where we're educating future professionals or perhaps advancing our own knowledge, whether it's facing significant, challenge and disruption just in day-to-day. Occupational therapy practitioners have a resiliency that supports all of us in our roles as essential healthcare workers, as vital contributors in educational systems, and certainly as frontline folks in our long-term care facilities and skilled nursing facilities, as well as our community environments, areas there where we might be working with populations and working on the front lines of some of our disaster areas. Some of you might recall the message of my inaugural address when I was president-elect, titled, "Let's Start Here, Relationships, Resilience and Relevance." It's important to recognize that when we're celebrating our resiliency, like the theme, we are acknowledging that we've experienced difficulties, disruption, and loss that have required us to reset, recover, and relaunch to keep moving forward. That's tough sometimes, but that's what it's about. We wouldn't need our resiliency if everything was smooth sailing, right? It's the hard stuff that brings that out for us. Who knew, though? Who knew how much we would need to draw on our capacity for resilience and would long for relationships to lift us up and to bring us through this past year? I sure didn't see that coming full on when I was out there with you all a year ago. I didn't know that a week later we would be canceling a conference in Boston. So certainly there were a lot of things that we did not know that really required us to draw on our resilience and look for strong relationships. Another who knew how much we would be tested in terms of our relevance as a profession. In so many ways, we have been challenged to identify what's relevant and truly matters to us as a profession, but also what is relevant and truly matters to us as individuals and as a group in our daily lives, in our professional work. And then when we come together and look at society as a whole, what matters? What's important? What's relevant? It's an important question, a big question that we grapple with all the time. I believe it's safe to say, though, we've all had moments of pause and reflection and realization over this last year. Moments of pause, reflection, and realization that could only have happened in the midst of disruption. How many of us found we had time on our hands to sit, to think, to do nothing except wait, sit and think and do something, right? It has been a year of opportunities to better understand, prioritize, and be clear about the things that are relevant to us. Disruption is defined as a forcible event, interruption, or disturbance that impacts a projected course. Now, you might want to know where that definition came from, so I'm going to share it with you. Came off of my wine bottle here. You see this? Disruption, Riesling 2018. And on the back is where my definition is. Now, this is not scholarly, but I like the definition, so I'm sharing it with you. I hope that's okay if we don't stay completely in the books at the moment. But disruption is a forcible event. It is an interruption, and it does disturb the things that we are accustomed to, are comfortable with, things that we count on to provide familiar guardrails, and it makes things different. So we do have to acknowledge that disruption has happened over the last year. Here we are today, considering where we've been and the opportunities that await from the uninvited disruption of 2020 and now 2021. How we respond as an occupational therapy profession will be the testimony of our resilience, of our capacity to recover quickly from difficulties and to rise up through that disruption. So if it's okay, I would like to talk for just a few minutes about opportunities that are in front of us on the other side of this 2020, 2021, and whatever else might be a part of that future story kind of journey. I have a Post-it in my office. Opportunities are not lost. Someone will take the ones you leave behind. A reminder that there are opportunities in front of us, opportunities that might look like uncertainty, might look like question marks, or might just look like they are ripe for the picking, which does happen in times of crisis. So I encourage you to embrace uncertainty as opportunity for you, for our profession, maybe for your community, for people you serve. And I ask you to consider a few possibilities and demonstrate our resiliency as we look ahead. I think on the program it said there I was going to talk a little bit about looking ahead. So I want to make sure that we maybe do that together. We have opportunities in front of us, opportunities to work with people living with chronic conditions, including a whole new class of people now, a whole new category, those affected by COVID-19, long haulers, people that are living every day right now, trying to understand the symptoms and issues that they are dealing with long after their battles with COVID-19 have been seemingly resolved. They need occupational therapy. They need us to be able to help them make those kinds of adjustments and transitions and support within the constructs of their life and the things that are meaningful to them. We have such a role to play there. We also have opportunities to demonstrate our full scope of practice when working with children and youth in learning environments and help them with these experiences that are new to them, new to their teachers, help them fill in those developmental gaps where we are seeing some difficulties, with children not in classrooms, not necessarily about them being at home, although in some homes that can be an issue too. But what can we do to support our children and youth as they are grappling with this imposed learning environment, learning situation in the wake of COVID-19? We also need to demonstrate our full scope of practice in support of positive mental health while working with some of these kids. Never mind adults, we matter too in that. But positive mental health while working with kiddos right now that are anxious, some depressed, and in need of restructured habits and routines that can provide safety or provide a roadmap that's less frightening or less uncertain. We have opportunities to address the mental health crisis that's upon us due to disruption, change, and in many ways loss in our daily lives. Many of us have experienced loss through this pandemic. Many people are dealing with loss in a way that looks like opioid use and abuse. Unfortunately, we also have many folks that are dying by suicide at a more rapid rate, at a higher rate, and certainly people dealing with the effects of trauma from their own frontline work or from being a person near someone who has been affected by trauma, either by COVID or also by the events surrounding some of our demonstrations, and also loss of life associated with systemic racism and some of the work that's gone on in that area. We have to look at opportunities to address the needs in our skilled nursing facilities and also long-term care facilities. Oh my gosh, social isolation. It is leaving such a mark, and not a good mark, on our elder population in skilled nursing facilities and long-term care facilities. We have opportunities to try to provide answers there, to encourage a review of some of their system processes there, educating about our full scope of practice and support for family and caregiver stress. Man, scratching the surface there, and we really need to consider ways that we can do more and do better. We also have opportunities to further solidify and advance occupational therapy through our newly acquired access through telehealth service delivery and being the entry people in home health cases. That's new, that's policy change that has come about during the public health emergency declarations, but it's not set in stone yet. We have to continue to advocate and support those efforts, and we have to continue to bring the stories forward. So that when they're needing information on the Hill and AOTA is lobbying for our needs here as a profession, they have the stories of success and positive outcomes to work with in their job on our behalf. We need to think about opportunities to be innovative in looking around in your communities. Be innovative in your thinking and doing. Look at your community. Look outside of your own community to society at large. What are the population health needs that can benefit from our occupational therapy expertise? How can we contribute at the prevention level? How can we contribute at the systems level? How can we contribute by working with disaster preparedness? How can we be these people that are concerned about how people live their life fully, how people are able to get back to a place where performance for them matters and where they are able to feel supported and have that quality of life meaningful to them. Overall, we need to embrace the opportunities to help us just be a totally awesome profession. It doesn't have to be things different. It can be that thing that you are doing every day in familiar places, meeting critical needs in our acute care hospitals. I don't have enough trophies for people that are working in those front lines and are either they are the frontline workers or they are people supporting efforts so that frontline workers can do their job as well. But that's a place where we need to continue to be. We need to continue to be strong in those familiar places. So while I'm looking ahead, which is what I think I'm doing in those, I hope you see that with me, and I hope you do that with me. While I'm asking you to look ahead, I'm also going to ask you to look around and not look away from the need for us as a profession and as occupational therapists and occupational therapy assistants and occupational therapy students to commit attention and actions that create a welcoming and inclusive environment and embrace diversity in all of its forms. Systemic racism, health disparities, and occupational injustice are barriers to and outcomes of exclusion. I'm not calling anyone out here. I'm calling us all in to do the hard but important work of DEI together. So as I close my remarks and open for questions, it was a short window and I probably exceeded it by a few, so I apologize if that's too much. But I do want to close my remarks and open that question window. by reminding us all of the final words of Amanda Gorman's inaugural poem. I don't know if you were able to watch that or take that in, but her poem was called "The Hill We Climb." But the last words of that poem, I think, have a message for us. It says, "When day comes, we step out of the shade, aflame and unafraid." I can't say it like she did. If you heard it, it was powerful. The new dawn blooms as we free it, for there is always light, if only we're brave enough to see it. If only we're brave enough to be it. I love that. And I think it provides the challenge that we need to answer. Are we brave enough to see it? Are we brave enough to be it? What does society need for us? What do we need to be for each other? I hope we're ready for it. I hope we're bold enough for it. So that's my takeaway from that. For me, it's clear that we know we must rise from the disruption. We can do that and be resilient. And we need to do that for the good of our profession and for the greater good of those that we serve. So looking at your program, I know y'all are going to talk about many of these things over the course of the next couple of days. I'm excited for what's ahead and for the conversations that will take place. And I look forward to hearing what's on your mind. So just thank you again for having me this evening.
Wendy, it's Laura. Thank you very much for sharing your words of wisdom and for welcoming us tonight. So we do have a few minutes. We have about 5 minutes for any questions or comments. I am monitoring the chat right now, and you may not have seen, but there are many happy birthday wishes for you, and also to let me just kind of pop on for Lindsay and a couple of other birthday people. So I'm just kind of monitoring if there's anyone that wants to speak. I don't know, Shannon, if people can unmute themselves, but I'm just kind of keeping my eye out. And there are comments of great motivational speech. Thanks. Someone had said, we have to be brave to be it. Awesome. And I could not agree with you more. And I too think that Amanda Gorman did a wonderful job at the inauguration. So thank you for reminding me of that. If anyone has a question, you can type it in the chat or the Q&A. I think it's the Q&A box. Let's see, Naomi had just also had said that we have to be really a part of emergency disaster response.
I happen to know that there's a couple of sessions focused on some of that or with elements of that. So I hope you all take that in as well.
And Hosea had said DEI is contained with our AOTA core values and ethical principles. Therefore, it is our responsibility. We should always be all in.
Agreed.
So lots of different comments. Another happy birthday for you.
Yes. I will take all of those, but I really, I do encourage all of us to really take a good look at, a good look back, a good look forward at what have we learned and what will we continue, to tease out as the opportunities for us. There are many there. We've had opportunities at many other points in history too. And some of them have fallen away because we didn't, commit our thinking or our focus to trying to actualize the potential of that moment. And so for the good or bad of circumstance in which we find ourselves now, there's a lot to learn, and there's a lot of potential there for occupational therapy to make a difference and have an impact. So, collectively, we've got work to do. Individually, we have a lot to do. I really do hope that we are able to come together and do that in partnership.
And Wendy, I think as our president with the American Occupational Therapy Association, I think you are such a wonderful leader. And Jennifer had just wished you a happy birthday and also said, thank you for your encouragement. And I think as the president, your words to inspire people and provide a perspective. So I also agree with her and just thanking you for your leadership, your encouragement.
Well, thank you.
Another comment, as OT, we are resilient enough to be a part in working in decreasing social isolation and improve inclusivity. So that was just a comment from Naomi, and someone also said this is very motivating and encouraging. Thank you.
I do see a question in the chat or in the Q&A from my friend, my past president friend, Mary Everett. And it asks, are you going to check AOTA documents and policies that will support us in pursuing new opportunities? And that is a great question, Mary. And so thanks for bringing that. Forward. We do have work going on right now as it relates to documents and policies, beginning to step into work, looking more at our documents and policies that need expanded. Are we missing, particular policies that might help us in the ways that we move forward in some of these new opportunities, or strengthen the places where we are? We have, I just think about, and I know Mary is close to this work as far as disaster preparedness and that area of, population health and public health work. And I think that's an area where we need to strengthen our policies or strengthen our documents for sure, so that there's a greater understanding of what those concepts mean, of what those contributions can be, and the ways in which occupational therapy can fit into that space, and feel supported in doing that from your national association, and from these kinds of conversations and discussions of all of us as members and non-members and people in our profession. So, that's one example, but we also, we're looking at many other, documents and policies kinds of things, to just help us overall be able to engage with each other in a more efficient and effective way, and to be more responsive, in the areas of policies and outlining what our profession looks like and how our professional organization is doing its business. And then I see something here. Let me see. I'm seeing a huge shift in the AOTA website, and it is great. I'm glad you're noticing. Thank you. That's great to hear. There are many new and updated resources. Yes. How is AOTA supporting OT Schoolhouse in the school systems who want to move into administration? Well, you've got me on that one, because I do not know what OT Schoolhouse is. So see, you're going to get to educate me so that I can support you. And so this is something that you'd like to, to share with. Okay. Okay, I love human moments. So how is AOTA supporting OTs in the school system who want to move into administration? So I'm thinking that I got that one. So thank you, Jason. And I know that has been heightened work, increased focus on school systems, on school-based practice. And if this is an area of transition that is needing support, I appreciate you bringing that forward, bringing that to my attention, because that's the kind of thing that I can then take back, or the kind of thing where you can reach out to the folks in the practice division as well and say, this is an area of need for me as a school-based practitioner, or as an occupational therapist or occupational therapy assistant that is interested in the administration realm within the school systems. So I do not know specifically if there are initiatives in place, or if it's one where they are retooling specific resources for that. but it's definitely a question that I can take back. So thank you for that, Jason.
And Wendy, we are a little bit after our time, but there is one more question. And if I could just impose on you, Louis Arabit had a quick question. Maybe we could just do that one and then close for the evening.
That's fine.
Louis asks, hi, Wendy, thanks for your inspiring keynote. With AOTA's goals of DEI, what are your thoughts regarding the recent racist attacks against the Asian Americans and how we as OTs can take an actionable role to support our Asian American clients, population? Thank you so much.
Louis, thank you for your question. And I'm speaking as a person here. When I see racist attacks at all, that's not okay. And that, I mean, that sounds very simple, but it's simply not acceptable for people to be singled out because of the person that they are by another individual, for whatever their particular reasons might be. We know that we have the assumption. I don't want to say what I know because that's always not the fairest thing, but we certainly do see many of these that have been called out as hate crimes associated with COVID-19 related kinds of conversations. And that just kind of is what it is, which is not okay. As far as what we can do, we are all human beings that when we see racism, when we see attacks of this nature, we do need to address it. I said, don't look away, right? And how can we take steps toward anti-racism, right? Not just staking that claim that I'm not this or I am that, but how can we actively engage in our own personal lives and in our professional venues in support of our Asian American colleagues, our Black and Brown people of color, LGBTQ populations, and people that we work with every day, standing shoulder to shoulder as our colleagues, as well as people that we serve. When these kinds of attacks or injustices come through, that is our opportunity as people and also as professionals to stand with our own core values. I can't tell you what your values are personally, but I can tell you that the values and the code of ethics for the occupational therapy profession do not tolerate that kind of behavior. So I would really encourage all of us to be thinking about being able to take a role, being able to support each other, first of all, being able to encourage others and point out the places where we need to be acknowledging everyone's unique gifts and contributions as they are. So, as far as actionable roles, Louis, I'm counting on you and me working together to figure out other actionable roles. And so I really welcome your comments and your conversation with me, and would be very open to that so that we can have a solid, actionable response.
Thank you, Wendy, and thank you everyone for saying just a little bit more for us to hear your words. And I'm certainly looking forward to next month at AOTA Inspire and for your presidential address. But thank you again for kickstarting off this year's spring symposium. And with that, I want to wish you a happy birthday again. So I'm going to take the honor of blowing out a candle on your behalf and for you, and to wish everyone a wonderful evening, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Okay.
Good night.
Great to see you all. Thank you.
And Wendy, I'm just watching the chat. I don't know if you have the chat up, but there are a lot of people, Caitlin Vaughn, Karen Palastri, Stephanie Kokesh, who is one of our leaders in California, as well as Carlin Riamu, who are just thanking you and wishing you a very happy birthday. So I'm hoping that you are able to see these words that people are just sharing with you. We'll probably be able to save it and send it to you, but just a lot of well wishes and
that
thanks.
is great. I will save that chat. So I will definitely save that chat. And Louis, I'll have to let you know the disruption wine, it's real. Yes, it is. It's not even a fake label. So I'll have to let you know. So, okay. And thanks, Naomi. The AOTA website, I'll pass that on. That is great. But I like your question too. How are we going to promote that? That's awesome. Related to public health. So thank you so much. So, all right, Michelle, I love seeing you there. I appreciate you in that chat.